Just a forewarning, I'm recording this on my phone because I didn't realize my laptop doesn't have a video recorder, so I'm doing this from my phone. This is my Google case study. Over this case study, we're going to be going over a couple different things: the financials, the history of Google, and just what I believe will help improve the company for the future. Alright, so just to start off with the history of Google, it was created in 1996 by two college graduates from Stanford University. The company was originally called Backrub because of the ability to rate websites by examining the number of backclicks pointing to the website. Eventually, the two named the company Google and began their own internet company that just started off as a search engine. The company really didn't start to get big until around 2000. The company expanded services by including wireless search technology, and search engine in 10 different languages, and a Google toolbar which allows you to search from Google without actually being on Google. And that's something that we still use now. Since then, Google has continued to add services and become the top company in the internet world. The history of the company truly is important because I want to remind everybody what made this company so special and how they got there. Sergey Brin and Larry Page created 10 core principles that we will review. And then we'll take an in-depth look at Google's current situation to see if those core values are still intact. So, the reason we're going over these core values because there's like three in particular to me that stick out, and I believe that's what Google has to get back to doing to continue to take that next step. There's 10 of them, and you can see them on the slide. I'm going to tell you the ones that stuck out the most to me. Number one is focus on the user, and all else will follow. I believe that Google started to get away from some of these core concepts, and that's why they've had some of the issues that they have, and I'll explain that as we go on. Two, and this is one of the biggest ones, it's best to do one thing really well. I'll get more in depth, but I kind of believe that Google got a little too big and started expanding their services a little too much, and I'll explain that later on. There's two other ones. There's always more information out there, and the need for information across all borders. That is a really big one to me. I'm going to mention, I know it's a search engine and it's an internet-based company, but I believe that they became too dependent on the internet. And I'm going to get more in depth to that when I get into the SWOT analysis. Another thing I wanted to mention was their mission statement. And I'll bring this all back so you can see why I believe the mission statement is important. But the mission statement that the two students created, and it's Google's mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Once again, I believe that over time Google started to get too big and went through a bit of an identity crisis. And as we go on, you'll see why I believe that and how to get back to that. Back to those core concepts. To answer some of the questions that you sent through email, defining success within the industry. To me, there's three main concepts that define success. And there's basic ones like profit and revenues and those sort of things, but I wanted to focus on these three just within the industry. The first one is a strong relationship with internet users. That should be the base and the foundation of any internet-based company. Without those users, these other two ones really don't even matter. The second one is a strong relationship with advertisers, and the third one would be a strong relationship with websites. The reason why advertisers are such a big deal is because Google made, in 2011, $3 billion off of ad banners alone. And that's because of the websites paying Google to put their advertisements on there so internet users click on them. This all ties in together, and that's why internet users is like the foundation of it. So those three things are, to me, what defines success within the industry. The next one, basically capabilities for a successful search engine. There's a couple of different things. I have 5 points for this one. And the first one is net neutrality. The second one is speed and accuracy for the searches. That is probably one of the biggest things that users use for. I strongly dislike, and I know other people do, when they click on and they're searching something and it gives them results for something not even close to looking for. So, and it sounds weird to use accuracy when you're referring to a search engine, but that basically means that when I click on search for whatever I just pressed into the toolbar, I want my search results to be as accurate and as quick to what I'm actually looking for as possible. And that's a capability that all search engines need. Easy to use. Nobody wants to go to a search bar or internet-based page and have difficulty finding where the toolbar is. Clean and organized is what's best. So easy to use is a big deal. Trustworthiness, and I get into this during the SWOT analysis, but Google has done a really good job of being a trustworthy company. And people know that when they use that website that they're going to be able to get what they want. And the next thing is accessibility. And I'm going to get more in depth about this, but the world is moving mobile, and people want to be able to access the internet and their search engines from whatever device that they're using, whether it's a desktop, a laptop, an iPad, whatever it is. So that's another capability for a successful search engine. And to get into some of the success factors for the smartphones, a lot of them are the same. There's some different ones, but just let me point out some of the ones that I think are the same. Internet speed and accuracy. There are people who will pick their phone depending on how fast they could search things, how fast the internet is. That's a big deal. And that's why with each upgrade with iPhones or Androids, you always see it moves this much quicker. Accuracy as well. People want to search things and get what they're looking for. Organized information, trustworthiness, and easy to use. Those are three things that people look in for their phones as well. They don't want a phone where the information's all over the place and it's difficult to find. And they don't want a phone that they can't use. It's the same thing with the search engine. If you can't use it, then we're not going to click on it. It's the same thing with phones. Buy them in that case. But some of the factors that I thought were a little bit different would be design and mobile apps. I'm sure people want a nice and simple design for the search engine, but phone designs are definitely something that people consider when they're buying their phones. And mobile apps are just what phones are all about. People really care about what type of applications are on their phones. And Google's been doing a really good job of transitioning into that and working with Google Play, where they're able to download certain apps to that and be connected through cloud. So yeah, we'll get more into that as we go on. The evolution of the industry. It's evolving and it's becoming more mobile, like I said earlier. People aren't just sitting behind their desktops or laptops anymore. Laptops were the cool new thing a couple years ago, but now everything's through phone. People are using Google Maps. They're using all these different applications because it's becoming a more mobile world. People are on the go constantly. So that's another way the search engine industry is changing. Another thing is voice searching. It's actually shown that users prefer voice searching more than actually typing in what they're searching for, most likely because it's easy to access. So that's another way that the industry is evolving. And the last thing that I put for this one is the fact that internet companies are using keywords to track behavioral searching methods. So basically, like for me, I shop a lot for football stuff. I watch football videos. So on Google, before I even type in what I want, Google basically has a personalized search engine for me. So as soon as I start typing in football stuff is going to pop up right away. And that's how it is for everybody. If you do a lot of shopping for clothes, as soon as you start going on there, Google already knows. It's a type of artificial intelligence that has helped the evolution of the industry. So one of your questions was whether Google's model has been successful. On the slides, I've typed out some financials. I'm just going to talk about that. So that's what I'll be looking at so I can refer to them. But Google's model has proven to be successful in my mind. Google stock prices are on the rise. From the date of their IPP, it was only $85, and now it currently trades at $1,200. So that alone shows that people trust in the brand and they're buying stock up. The company's revenues have increased each year by a large margin, but the one thing that I saw that kind of bugged me was the operating expenses, and I'll get into that. But the first slide for the financials, we could see that Google owns the internet world, basically. They own over 70% of the market share, and they're growing. That's, a good thing. They're beating out some of those other companies. On the next slide, you could see the revenues from 2011 through 2013, and you're seeing growth each year. In 2010 to 2011, you see a 34% growth. 2012, 19%, and then 2013, 20%. So the company is growing at a steady rate. The annual revenues, I put that on there as well, and you can see that they're growing at a pretty steady pace. Now, the one that I thought was really interesting and really important, though, was this one that shows 2009 through 2011. It's comparing Google, Yahoo, and Microsoft, which are probably the three biggest competitors. We see that revenue-wise, that Google is right there, and it's making a lot of money, more than Yahoo, but less than Microsoft. But what concerns me the most is the total operating expenses. It's a large amount. The net profit, it's not as much as you would hope it would be for such a large company. It's making a lot of revenue, but has a lot of operating expenses. So that's something that I believe Google needs to focus on. So next, to answer some more of those questions, I created a SWOT analysis. The company has a lot of strengths, and those are things that they should continue to focus on, but I also point out some of the weaknesses and the threats that the company may have. For the strengths, I picked about 5. The strong brand image. Google is a known image, and they've persevered through time, and they're a proven image, and that makes people trust it. So that's a strength for Google. Their diversified products. Google has a multitude of different products. Like I said, they've done a good job of doing Google Play, Google Maps, the search engine. They're able to do a lot of things, and I would say that 80% of the things that I use are probably from Google. I put the pure size of Google as a strength, mainly because they're able to keep all that information on all these different things organized. But I'm going to mention it as a weakness or a threat in a bit, but I'll explain that as we go. Their innovative technology and their skilled workers are another strength. The business wouldn't be anywhere without those skilled workers and those innovative people, and that's definitely a strength of the company. It's always ranked as one of the top places to work for people, and so that's why I put it down as a strength. Now, the weakness, and I'm focusing on one mainly, and that's their dependence on the internet. And I know Google is an internet-based company, but I believe they're becoming too dependent on it. They lack personal and in-store advertising. Everything they do is over the internet, but they're trying to get into some of those fields with the cell phones and everything. So I believe that they need to work on having more in-store advertisements. And also the line of failed products. It's how it types in with some of those core values, doing one thing really well. I think they slipped away from that. They've had a line of failed products, including their social media that was supposed to be like Facebook, and a couple other things that have failed, and that's just a waste of money. So, Google already does things so well that they need to stick to some of those core concepts, and I'll get more into that. Their threats are competitors such as Microsoft, Yahoo, and Apple. Apple does a really good job of having online advertisements and marketing and in-store and personal, and they're able to connect to people. I'm put another weakness or threat as becoming too big, continue to try and expand. They need to cut some departments out and just focus on what's made them so successful. And then with any internet-based company, you're going to have privacy and security concerns. They've had issues of getting some of their accounts hacked over cloud and financial stuff getting hacked. So when those things happen, you start to lose trustworthiness and loyalty from some of your consumers and users. So focusing on cutting those things out would be a very good idea. The opportunities are basically focused on expanding into the mobile market. It's becoming the future. Everybody does it. So that's something that really needs to become a focus for the company, as well as canceling out some of those departments and refocusing on what their core concepts are. So for my conclusions and recommendations, I basically put that Google must improve their physical presence in store and with a personal experience for people so they could find out about it. They also need to expand, and I forgot to mention this earlier, into those developing countries. Right now, Google isn't able to reach in those countries because they don't have internet. So they need to be able to have a personal presence and make those people want to use Google, want to get internet or whatever it is that they're trying to do. So I said that, and I think the next step that Google needs to do to continue to stay relevant is just stick to those core principles. Do one thing really well, and they've done a good job of dominating the internet. So whether it's stick to that, just focus on that, but cut down on the social media things and focus on mobile apps. And just to tie in with that mission statement that I mentioned earlier, here's a line that's Google's chief executive, Larry Page. Basically, he admitted that the company has outgrown its mission statement that was created, the one that we mentioned earlier in 1998, from the launch of the company. And he said himself that he doesn't know how to redefine the company. That would be concerning. The first step, once you figure out that you don't know what the company stands for anymore, is to redefine it, create a new mission statement. If you don't want to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful, then redefine what it is that you were trying to do and focus on that. Because once you start getting off track from what your core values are and your core principles, the company doesn't have a vision, or they don't have a map to go down. So that is my presentation. Those are the things that I believe that Google needs to do to take the next step and continue to be successful.